Ever imagine turning like a small investment into a life-changing sum in just 1 week?
Well, that's exactly what happened with this Galileo FX trading bot. Pretty wild stuff.
Yeah. And how much are we talking here?
It generated an astounding 500% return on a $3,200 investment.
Wow.
Yeah, boasting a 72% win rate and a 3.2 profit factor.
That's like way more than the typical, what, 5 to 10% that human traders usually go for.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Blows it out of the water.
And this wasn't just some like one-time lucky break.
Right.
Yeah.
It's not a fluke, no. Another test actually yielded a 560% return, but over 5 months this time.
Still, that's impressive.
Yeah.
I read that one user even called it one of my best investments.
Yeah, they were pretty happy. Of course, the creators are always, quick to point out that losses are inevitable.
Right. It's not a guaranteed thing.
Exactly. As Materazzi, the one who created Galileo FX, put it, losses are a certainty, not a probability. At Galileo FX, we prepare traders for these inevitable downturns rather than, promising seamless profits.
So AI trading might be revolutionary, but it's not a magic money tree.
Definitely not, no.
So speaking of ambitious ventures, we've got to talk about OpenAI and Microsoft, right?
Yeah, they're really shaking things up with this vision for AGI.
AGI, Artificial General Intelligence, for those who haven't heard.
Right, and they're aiming for an AGI that can generate, get this, $100 billion in profit.
Wow, that's a lot of zeros.
It is, though their public definition of AGI focuses more on surpassing human performance in economically valuable tasks.
So it's about more than just like the bottom line.
Right, it's about reaching a level of intelligence that can outperform us in tasks that have economic value.
And how are they going to achieve that?
Well, that's the million-dollar question. They're projecting, actually, a billion-dollar question. They're projecting $44 billion in losses between 2023 and 2028.
That's quite a risky bet.
It is, but they anticipate profitability by 2029 with a projected $100 billion in revenue.
So they're playing the long game.
Yeah, and some even suggest they could be profitable as early as 2026 if you exclude certain costs.
So there's some optimism there.
Definitely. And Microsoft is really showing their commitment. They've invested over $13 billion and are set to receive a 20% share of OpenAI's revenue.
That's a pretty big vote of confidence.
Huge, yeah. But it's definitely a costly endeavor. ChatGPT's maintenance alone costs a fortune, not to mention the projected $9.5 billion annually for future AI model training by 2026.
And let's not forget that record-breaking $6.6 billion funding round, which valued OpenAI at a whopping $157 billion.
Right. They're not messing around.
Seems like they're putting their money where their mouth is. As they've said themselves, our nonprofit board will determine if AGI is achieved based on our ability to surpass human performance in economically valuable tasks.
Exactly. So it all comes down to whether they can actually achieve that, which is a whole other discussion.
And what about the ethics of, tying AGI to such significant financial goals?
Yeah.
I mean, is that the right way to be approaching this?
Yeah, that's definitely a conversation we need to be having as this technology develops. I mean, what happens if the pursuit of profit comes into conflict with, human values or safety? These are questions we can't ignore.
And it's not just a hypothetical concern. I mean, we saw Meta get into hot water recently over AI-generated personas on Instagram and Facebook.
Right, that was a bit of a mess.
Yeah.
These weren't just any accounts either. They were creating fully fleshed out fictional characters.
Yeah, like Liv, who was a black queer mom of two, and then Grandpa Brian, who was a retired African-American entrepreneur.
And the issue is that they were presenting these AI personas as real people.
Yeah, which sparked concerns about deception and even manipulation, right? I mean, people thought they were interacting with real individuals.
Exactly, and they were sharing these elaborate backstories and everything. It was all made up.
And what happened? Did they, shut it down?
Yeah, they ended up removing the accounts after users started noticing that they were, fabricating information and lying. There was also this glitch that was preventing people from blocking them, which made it even worse.
So what did Meta have to say about it?
Well, they called it an early experiment, but a lot of people were left feeling pretty uneasy about the future of authentic interactions on these platforms. If they can just create these fake personas that are so convincing, what does that mean for the future of social media?
Yeah, it's a bit unsettling. Like, one of the AI personas, Grandpa Brian, even admitted, my creators wanted me to feel real, so they built a whole life for me. But really, they just wanted people to love me like family.
It's kind of creepy, right?
Yeah, it's like a Black Mirror episode or something.
Exactly. It makes you wonder where we're headed with all this.
And it's not just social media that's being impacted by AI. I mean, look at what happened at the Journal of Human Evolution.
Oh, yeah, that was a big story.
The entire editorial board, well, almost the entire board, resigned.
All but one member stepped down. It was a pretty dramatic move.
And what was the reason for that?
Well, they were protesting against Elsevier, the company that publishes the journal. Apparently, Elsevier had started implementing AI in the production process without even telling the editorial board.
And that led to some issues.
Yeah, there were concerns about errors being introduced and a lack of transparency. They were also worried about their own editorial independence being compromised because Elsevier was restructuring the journal.
So it was like a power struggle over who had control.
In a way, yes. And this wasn't just an isolated incident either. We've seen at least 20 resignations from academic journals since 2023, all linked to concerns over AI integration and rising publication fees.
So it seems like there's a bigger trend here.
Definitely. It raises questions about the future of academic publishing and the role that AI is going to play in it. Will it make things more efficient, or will it undermine the integrity of the process?
Something to think about.
Yeah.
If you're interested in this issue, feel free to share your thoughts in the comments below.
Yeah, we'd love to hear from you. Now, let's move on to another major development, this time from Microsoft.
What are they up to now?
Well, they're making a massive investment in AI-enabled data centers. We're talking $80 billion during this fiscal year alone.
That's a serious chunk of change.
It is, and over half of that investment is going to be right here in the United States.
So what's the plan with all this money?
Well, it's all about building the infrastructure to support the rapid growth of AI and cloud services. They need more data centers to train AI models, deploy AI applications, and meet the increasing demand for computing power.
It seems like they're really doubling down on AI.
Absolutely. They've increased their capital expenditures by a whopping 79% from last year, bringing it to $20 billion.
So they're putting their money where their mouth is.
They are, and it shows just how seriously they're taking this. I mean, they see AI as the future, and they're investing accordingly.
And it's not just about like data centers and infrastructure, right? I mean, generative AI is really starting to make waves in a bunch of different industries.
Oh, yeah. It's transforming everything from software development to automotive design.
So how is it changing the game?
Well, in software development, for example, generative AI can help developers write code faster and more efficiently. It can also help with things like refactoring code, generating documentation, and even finding bugs.
So it's like a supercharged coding assistant.
In a way, yes. It's all about automating those repetitive tasks and freeing up developers to focus on the more creative aspects of their work.
And it's actually making a real difference, right?
Oh, yeah. Early pilots have shown that generative AI can cut software development time by up to 40%.
Wow, that's a pretty significant improvement.
It is, and it's not just about speed either. Generative AI can also help to improve code quality and make software more reliable.
So it's a win-win situation.
Pretty much, yeah. And McKinsey even put out a report calling this a shift in how automotive companies approach innovation.
So it's not just hype, it's actually having a real impact.
Exactly. But of course, there are still some challenges to overcome.
Like what?
Well, one of the big ones is ensuring the safety and reliability of AI-powered systems, especially for things like self-driving cars or medical devices. You don't want to be putting people's lives at risk.
Right. That makes sense.
And then there's the issue of reskilling the workforce. I mean, if AI is going to be automating all these tasks, what happens to the people who used to do them?
Yeah.
We need to make sure that people have the skills they need to thrive in this new world of work.
So it's not just about the technology itself, but also about the social and economic implications.
Exactly. It's a complex issue with a lot of different facets.
And it seems like the automotive industry is really embracing this technology.
Oh, yeah. Over 40% of automotive executives have reported investing up to $5 million in generative AI, and 10% have invested even more than that.
So they're putting their money where their mouth is.
They are, and they're taking a cautious approach, starting with standard use cases and gradually moving towards more specialized applications.
So it's a gradual process.
It is, but the momentum is definitely there. Generative AI is becoming a major force in the automotive industry, and it's only a matter of time before it starts to have a similar impact on other sectors as well.
Now, all this innovation is being fueled by a massive influx of funding into the generative AI space.
Oh, yeah. It's like a gold rush right now. In 2024, generative AI startups raised a record-breaking $56 billion across 885 deals.
Wow, that's almost triple the amount raised in 2023.
It is, and it just shows you how much excitement there is around this technology. Investors are betting big on the potential of generative AI to disrupt numerous industries.
And who are some of the big players in this space?
Well, you've got companies like OpenAI, Anthropic, XAI, all attracting billions in funding. Databricks raised a whopping $10 billion in Series J funding, and Anthropic received a $4 billion investment from Amazon.
Those are some serious numbers.
They are, and it's not just a U.S. phenomenon either. We're seeing international success stories like Moonshot AI in Beijing, which secured $1 billion, and Mistral in France, which raised $640 million.
So it's a global trend.
Absolutely, but analysts are starting to caution about potential oversaturation in the market. With so much money pouring in, it's inevitable that some startups will fail to live up to the hype.
So it's not just about having a cool technology. It's also about having a solid business plan and a clear understanding of the market.
Exactly, and that's where a lot of startups will stumble. They might have a great product, but if they can't figure out how to make money from it, they're not going to last.
And it's not just the generative AI companies themselves that are attracting investment, right?
Right. There are also the infrastructure companies like Crusoe and Lambda, which provide the essential computing resources needed to train and operate these advanced AI models. They're seeing a surge in investment as well.
So Crusoe raised $600 million and Lambda secured $320 million.
That's right. And it highlights the growing demand for robust computing infrastructure to support AI innovation. Without these companies, the generative AI revolution would grind to a halt.
It's like a symbiotic relationship.
Exactly. They need each other to succeed. And with data center spending projected to hit $250 billion annually, it's clear that this sector is poised for continued growth.
Now, amidst all this excitement, there are also some legal challenges emerging around the use of copyrighted material in AI training.
Oh, yeah. The case against Anthropic, the creators of the Claude AI chatbot, is a prime example of this.
What happened there?
Well, music publishers are suing Anthropic, alleging that they infringed on their copyrights by using lyrics from at least 500 songs by prominent artists like Beyoncé and Katy Perry to train Claude without proper authorization or payment.
That's a pretty serious accusation.
It is, and it raises important questions about the legal boundaries of AI training. Where do you draw the line when it comes to using copyrighted material to teach AI models?
And what's Anthropic's defense?
Well, they're arguing that their practices fall under fair use, claiming that their use of the lyrics was transformative and didn't harm the market for the original works. They also claim to have robust processes in place to prevent copyright infringement.
But the music publishers aren't buying it.
No, they're arguing that Anthropic's use wasn't transformative and that it caused them financial harm. And this case is just the tip of the iceberg. We're seeing similar lawsuits popping up all over the place, targeting AI companies like OpenAI and Perplexity.
So this is shaping up to be a major battleground in the AI space.
It is, and it's going to have far-reaching implications for the future of AI development. We need clear legal guidelines to ensure that AI innovation can flourish while respecting the rights of copyright holders.
That's a delicate balance to strike.
It is, and it's going to be interesting to see how this all plays out. Now, let's move on to a case that highlights the importance of ethical practices in AI, particularly when it comes to accessibility.
What happened?
Well, the Federal Trade Commission fined Accessib, an AI accessibility startup, $1 million for deceptive advertising.
What do they do?
They claimed that their AI-powered plugin could make websites accessible for blind users and compliant with Web Content Accessibility Guidelines, WCA.
So they were marketing it as a solution for making websites more inclusive.
Exactly, but the FTC alleged that they overstated their capabilities, and in many cases, their tool actually made websites less accessible for blind and low-vision users.
So it was the opposite of what they claimed to be doing.
In a way, yes. And they were also accused of presenting sponsored reviews as independent endorsements, further misleading customers.
So it was a classic case of false advertising.
Pretty much, yeah. And this case really sparked a lot of criticism from advocacy groups like the National Federation of the Blind, who condemned Accessibi's practices.
And they weren't alone, right?
No, over 400 accessibility advocates and developers signed a letter urging companies to avoid using such automated tools. They argued that these tools often fail to deliver on their promises and can actually make websites more difficult to use for people with disabilities.
So there's a lot of distrust in the industry.
There is, and for good reason. Cases like this show that we need to be very careful about how we use AI, especially when it comes to accessibility. The potential for harm is real if we're not careful.
And the FTC is taking this seriously.
Oh, yeah. Samuel Levine, director of the FTC's Bureau of Consumer Protection, issued a strong statement saying companies looking for help making their websites accessible must trust that products deliver on their promises. Overstating capabilities without evidence is deceptive, and the FTC will act to stop it.
So they're sending a clear message to the industry.
They are, and it's a message that needs to be heard. We can't allow AI to be used as a tool for deception, especially when it comes to something as important as accessibility. Now, let's end on a more positive note.
Okay, I'm ready for some good news.
Well, AI is revolutionizing the food industry, promising a future of enhanced taste, health, and sustainability.
That sounds delicious. Tell me more.
AI-powered platforms like TasteWise and January AI are analyzing billions of data points to predict trends and tailor products to meet consumer demands.
So they're using AI to figure out what people want to eat.
Exactly, and they're doing it with incredible accuracy. They can identify emerging trends before they even hit the mainstream, allowing food companies to get ahead of the curve and create products that people will love.
And this is leading to some pretty innovative products.
Oh yeah, January AI, for example, is using their digital twin technology to create personalized nutrition solutions, particularly for managing conditions like diabetes.
So they're using AI to help people eat healthier.
Exactly, and they're not the only ones. AI is also being used to develop functional foods with specific health benefits, such as boosting immunity or reducing inflammation.
So it's not just about taste, it's about health as well.
Absolutely, and it's about sustainability too. AI is being used to optimize food production processes, reduce waste, and create more environmentally friendly packaging.
So it's a win-win-win situation.
Pretty much, yeah. And we're seeing some really cool collaborations happening, like the one between Kraft Heinz and Naco. They're using AI to create plant-based alternatives to some of Kraft Heinz's most popular products, like not cheese slices and not mac and cheese.
Those are some classic comfort foods.
They are, and now they're available in plant-based versions that are just as delicious as the originals. And Tom Hadwin, the chief data officer of Kraft Heinz, even said, AI has made us capable of doing things we couldn't do 5 years ago, like predicting trends early enough to own them in the market.
So they're really seeing the value in AI.
They are, and it's not just Kraft Heinz. Food companies around the world are embracing AI to innovate, improve their products, and create a more sustainable food system.
It's an exciting time to be a foodie.
It is, and it's only going to get more exciting as AI continues to evolve. We're on the cusp of a culinary revolution, and AI is at the heart of it.
So that's it for part 1 of Last Week in AI.
Stay tuned for part 2, where we'll continue our exploration of the latest AI news and delve deeper into the ethical implications of this transformative technology. Back again with Last Week in AI by Thought Factory.
Ready for round 2, diving back into the world of AI.
Lots to cover. Remember its lawsuit against Anthropic about using all those song lyrics to train their Claude AI chatbot.
Oh yeah, that was a big one. What's the latest?
Well, things are heating up. Anthropic now has to maintain these copyright safeguards to prevent Claude from generating song lyrics during the whole litigation process.
So basically, they've got to keep Claude quiet for now.
Exactly, yeah. And music publishers can actually notify Anthropic if they think those safeguards aren't, doing enough.
Add another layer of complexity to this whole thing.
No, for sure. Especially with Anthropic arguing that using those layers falls under fair use.
Right, I remember that. They're saying their use was, like, transformative, right?
Yeah, basically arguing they used the lyrics in a whole new way that didn't step on the original copyright holder's toes.
But the publishers aren't convinced.
No, they're saying it wasn't transformative at all and that it cost them money.
And this isn't an isolated incident either, right?
Not at all. This year alone, there have been at least 20 lawsuits filed against AI companies for similar copyright stuff.
Wow, that's a lot.
It is, and it really highlights the need for some clear legal guidelines as AI keeps pushing the boundaries.
Yeah, where do you draw the line?
Exactly. And speaking of lines being crossed, remember Accessib, that AI accessibility startup fined by the FTC?
Oh yeah, the one that said their AI could make websites accessible, but ended up misleading a bunch of people.
That's the one. Well, the FTC's proposed order against them is now in a 30-day public comment period.
So the public gets to weigh in on the proposed penalties and all that.
Exactly. Really important opportunity for folks who are directly affected by Accessib's, practices to share what happened.
Really underscores the point that AI development should put user needs first, especially for accessibility tools.
Absolutely. And with all those accessibility advocates and developers speaking out against tools like Accessibees, there's a lot of trust that needs rebuilding.
Yeah, a cautionary tale for sure.
It is. Speaking of innovation, let's get back to AI and the food industry. Things are getting really interesting.
I'm always up for talking food. AI making things tastier.
More than that, it's being used to create healthier, more sustainable, and even more personalized food.
Wow, personalized food, that's pretty futuristic.
It is, right. AI platforms are analyzing tons of data, consumer preferences, food trends, nutrition info, the whole shebang.
So they're basically figuring out what we want to eat before we even know it ourselves.
Pretty much, yeah. That's how food companies can predict those emerging trends and create products that meet our specific dietary needs.
And all those plant-based alternatives are getting really popular.
Oh yeah, that's another area where AI is playing a big role, helping create plant-based stuff that tastes and feels just like the animal-based versions.
Like those not cheese slices and the not mac and cheese from Kraft Heinz and not Co.
Exactly. AI is making plant-based eating more appealing and accessible, which is good for everyone.
Absolutely. But AI in food goes beyond just product development, right?
Definitely. It's being used to optimize the whole production process, making things more efficient, reducing waste, even improving food safety.
So it's like AI is streamlining the whole system.
You got it. Platforms like TasteWise can analyze billions of data points. And that helps companies like Kraft Heinz predict trends and respond to consumer demand way faster.
Speaking of Kraft Heinz, didn't their chief data officer say something about this?
He did. Tom Hadwin said, AI has made us capable of doing things we couldn't do 5 years ago, like predicting trends early enough to own them in the market.
So they're ahead of the game thanks to AI.
You could say that. And it's exciting to see how AI is making the future of food more delicious, sustainable, and personalized.
Absolutely. Now, let's switch gears again. Generative AI is making a big impact on the automotive and industrial sectors.
Big time. Especially in software development, it's really changing how things are done.
I'm curious, how so?
Well, generative AI can automate a lot of the tasks that used to take up a lot of time for developers, things like code generation, refactoring, even documentation.
So it's like giving developers a superpowered assistant.
Exactly. It frees them up to focus on the more creative parts of their job, the problem solving and the innovation.
And we've seen some real results from this, haven't we?
Oh yeah, early pilots have shown that generative AI can cut software development time by up to 40%.
That's massive.
It is, and one McKinsey report even said that this marks a shift in how automotive companies approach innovation.
So it's not just about doing things faster, it's about changing the whole mindset.
Exactly. But of course, there are challenges, especially when it comes to safety-critical systems. You got to make sure the AI-powered software is absolutely reliable.
Makes sense. You don't want any glitches when it comes to like self-driving cars or medical devices.
Absolutely not. And then there's the whole issue of, reskilling the workforce, making sure people have the skills they need to work alongside AI.
So it's about adapting to this new way of working.
Right. It's a cultural shift. But despite the challenges, companies are definitely going all in on generative AI.
How much are we talking?
Over 40% of automotive execs have invested up to $5 million, and some, like 10%, have invested even more, over $20 million.
Wow, so they're really putting their money where their mouth is.
They are, and they're taking a smart approach, starting with those standard use cases and then, gradually moving towards more specialized stuff.
So it's a step-by-step process.
Yeah. But the momentum is there. Generative AI is a game changer, and not just in the automotive industry. It's going to have a ripple effect across all sorts of sectors.
It seems like there's a lot of optimism around generative AI.
Oh, yeah, and the funding numbers reflect that. We're talking about billions of dollars pouring into generative AI startups.
Touch exactly.
In 2024 alone, it was a record-breaking $56 billion spread across 885 deals.
That's almost 3 times what it was in 2023.
Yeah, investors are going crazy for it. They see generative AI as the next big thing, with the potential to disrupt so many industries.
And some big names are leading the charge, right?
Absolutely. Companies like OpenAI, Anthropic, XAI, they're all raking in the cash. Databricks managed to raise a mind-blowing $10 billion in their Series J funding round.
And Anthropic got $4 billion from Amazon.
Yep. Pretty impressive stuff. And it's not just a U.S. thing either. We're seeing major successes in other parts of the world, like Moonshot AI in Beijing and Mistral in France.
So it's truly a global phenomenon.
It is, but some analysts are warning about, potential oversaturation. With so much money flooding the market, not every startup is going to make it.
So it's not just about having a cool technology, it's about having a viable business model too.
You got it. A lot of startups might have a great product, but if they can't figure out how to actually make money, they're not going to last.
And speaking of the companies supporting this whole AI revolution, there are the infrastructure startups too, right?
Oh yeah, those are the unsung heroes, the companies like Crusoe and Lambda that provide the computing power these AI models need to, actually work.
And they're attracting some serious investment too.
Definitely. Crusoe got $600 million dollars and Lambda secured $320 million, dollars, all because the demand for robust computing infrastructure is skyrocketing.
It's like a symbiotic relationship. The AI companies need the computing power, and the infrastructure companies provide it.
Exactly. They both need each other to thrive. And with data center spending expected to reach $250 billion dollars per year, this sector is only going to keep growing.
It's an exciting time to be in the AI world.
It is, but it's not all sunshine and roses. There are some serious legal challenges popping up, especially around using copyrighted stuff to train AI models.
Like that case with Anthropic and the song lyrics.
Exactly. And this raises a lot of questions about, the limits of AI training. How much can you use without permission? Where do you draw the line?
So this is going to be a major legal battleground going forward.
No doubt about it. We need clear rules to make sure AI innovation can happen without, stepping on copyright holders' toes.
It's about finding that balance.
It is. And now, shifting gears a bit, let's talk about AI and accessibility. There's a really important case that highlights the need for ethical practices in this area.
Okay, what happened?
Well, the FTC fined an AI accessibility startup called Accessibae $1 million dollars for deceptive advertising.
What did they do?
They claimed that their AI-powered plugin could make websites accessible for blind users and, meet all those web content accessibility guidelines.
So basically they were marketing it as a way to make websites more inclusive.
Exactly. But the FTC found that they exaggerated what their tool could actually do, and in some cases, it actually made websites harder for blind and low vision users to use.
So it backfired.
Pretty much.
Yeah.
And they were also accused of using sponsored reviews and pretending they were genuine endorsements, which is just misleading.
Yeah, that's not cool.
Not at all. And this whole thing sparked outrage from advocacy groups like the National Federation of the Blind. They called out Accessibae's practices, and over 400 accessibility advocates and developers even signed a letter urging companies to steer clear of automated tools like theirs.
So there's a lot of skepticism about these kinds of tools now.
There is, and for good reason. This case is a stark reminder that AI can be misused, especially when it comes to something as important as accessibility.
The FTC is definitely cracking down on this kind of stuff.
Oh yeah, Samuel Levine, the director of the FTC's Bureau of Consumer Protection, said it best. Companies looking for help making their websites accessible must trust that products deliver on their promises. Overstating capabilities without evidence is deceptive, and the FTC will act to stop it.
So they're sending a clear message: don't mess with accessibility.
Exactly. And now, to end on a brighter note, let's talk about AI and food again. Things are getting really innovative in this space.
Always happy to hear about food, AI making things even tastier.
You could say that. AI-powered platforms like TasteWise and January AI are using tons of data to predict trends and personalize food products.
It's like they're reading our minds, figuring out what we want before we even know it.
Pretty much. They can identify those up-and-coming trends, helping food companies stay ahead of the game and create products that people will love.
And those plant-based alternatives are becoming more popular than ever.
Absolutely, and AI is a big part of that. It's helping to create plant-based versions of classic foods that taste and feel just like the originals.
Like those not cheese slices and not mac and cheese from Kraft Heinz and Not Co.
Exactly. AI is making plant-based eating more appealing and accessible, which is good for everyone.
Definitely. And AI in food goes beyond just new products, right?
Oh, yeah. It's also being used to optimize the entire production process, making things more efficient, reducing waste, and improving safety.
So AI is like a super efficient chef.
In a way, yeah. And it's helping companies like Kraft Heinz stay ahead of the curve, predicting trends and responding to consumer demand faster than ever before.
Their chief beta officer, Tom Hadwin, even said something about that.
He did. He said, AI has made us capable of doing things we couldn't do 5 years ago, like predicting trends early enough to own them in the market.
So they're really embracing AI to stay competitive?
They are, and it's paying off. The future of food is looking pretty delicious and sustainable thanks to AI.
Back again for the final part of last week in AI by Thought Factory.
Yeah, wrapping up our AI news marathon here.
We left off talking about Accessibae, that AI accessibility startup. Any updates?
Yeah, the FTC made their final decision.
So what happened?
Accessibility has to pay that $1 million fine, and they're barred from making those misleading claims about their product.
Good. Holding them accountable.
Exactly, especially protecting those who rely on accessible websites.
It sends a message. AI companies can't just make promises they can't keep.
Right, innovation's great, but not at the expense of honesty.
The FTC director put it well, saying companies need to be able to trust that these products actually work.
Yeah, overstating what your AI can do is just deceptive.
So a lesson learned, got to be transparent about AI capabilities.
Absolutely. Now, on a lighter note, let's talk food again.
My favorite topic, AI revolutionizing our meals.
It really is. Platforms like TasteWise and January AI are using so much data to figure out what we want to eat.
It's like they're predicting the future of food.
In a way, yeah. They're identifying trends, helping food companies stay ahead of the game.
And we see the results, more personalized, healthier options.
That's right. January AI is even using their tech to create personalized nutrition plans, especially for managing diabetes.
So AI helping us eat better, that's a good thing.
Absolutely. And it goes beyond that, optimizing food production, reducing waste. It's a whole system overhaul.
Kraft Heinz is a good example. They're really embracing AI.
They are, and it's working. Their chief data officer said AI is allowing them to predict trends early enough to really capitalize on them.
So AI is giving them a competitive edge.
For sure. The future of food is looking pretty bright.
Delicious and sustainable. What more could you ask for?
Exactly. So that wraps up our AI news for this week.
From trading bots to copyright battles, AI is making its mark everywhere.
It's exciting and a little daunting.
We covered a lot, but there's always more to explore.
It's an ever-evolving field, always something new happening.
And as AI keeps advancing, we need to keep these conversations going.
Absolutely. The ethical implications, the potential benefits and risks, it's important to discuss it all.
So what do you think about everything we covered today?
Yeah, what are your thoughts? Let us know in the comments. We'd love to hear from you.
We'll be back next week with more AI news and insights.
Until then, stay curious and keep exploring the world of artificial intelligence.
And remember, the future is being shaped right now, and AI is playing a big role in it.
So stay informed and stay engaged because this is a conversation that affects us all.
See you next time.